My next guest is Nicole S. Brown. She is the author of School Days, Holidays, and All Days That Lie Between, More School Days, Holidays, and All Days That Lie Between, and many more school days, holidays, and all days that lie between. Who Do You Love? Love Story and Poetry, and God's Calling to Live a Life That's True, All About Slime, Trails of the Northeast Louisiana and the Child, School of Hard Knocks, Life Support, and the Refusal to Return to Slime, and Who Are You Still in Love With? The Diminishing of Slime and Wet Dreams. Nicole is a native of Monroe, Louisiana, and she is also Tennessee, Missouri, and Mississippi certified K-12 teacher who holds certifications in chemistry, physics, general science, music, and reading. She holds a BS in chemistry education from the University of Louisiana-Monroe and MED in reading education from Alcorn State University and an ed specialist in educational leadership from Delta State University. She's also about to start an EDD program in educational leadership. She has been teaching since 2005, and she has gotten certified in those 6 subjects along the way in 4 different states. And she is also pursuing an administrative license. And we'll talk a little bit about her books today on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for your
How are
interest
you
in
today?
being on the podcast. I'm doing great. We just kind of came across each other on LinkedIn, and you're interested in being on the podcast. So we'll start off with a question I ask everybody. Tell me about a time when you were in the trenches and managed to crawl out.
Say that again.
Tell me about a time when you were in the trenches and managed to crawl out.
Well, it's been a lot of times, that I've been a long time that I've been in the trenches. I still feel that I am in the trenches because, you constantly have to work on yourself because things always change. So you always have to kind of stay fresh and research who you're dealing with and what things are going on in the world, and make yourself a lifelong learner so that you could have a lasting effect on people and just a lasting effect on yourself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you've talked a little bit about making sure that you don't mix too much of your personal life with your
Yeah,
professional life, right? Maybe
yeah,
not bringing so many emotions into the classroom.
right.
You told me a little bit about you're not the type of teacher who yells at teachers, yells at students, but what kind
I
of
don't yell at teachers either.
affirmations do you bring? No, definitely. Yeah. So even if we're
um,
having a bad day, we want to bring positivity to our classroom.
Right. And it's hard at times because we do have our days, and then, when we love the students, love the students, sometimes the little things that they do, because we want them to strive to do the best, and we want the best out of our kids. And sometimes we stay on the little ones, but and then they think, oh, she doesn't like me. But no, that's not the case. We want them to do better. So that's why we stay on them. I had a child to say, you don't like me. And I was like, well, if I didn't like you, then I wouldn't stay on you about the
Sure.
things, and then I wouldn't be talking about the things that I like about you because I really like you, and I really like you. And I was like, at that time I was a music teacher, and I would always, because he was so highly talented and he could really sing. Uh, but he didn't always have the best cooperation with his peers, and he didn't have the best cooperation with other teachers. And it was some
Mm-hmm.
things that I just overlooked because I was just like, I know that this child has potential. And so every
Mm-hmm.
time I would say, I'm going to put this child in the program for this because I'm going to put this child for the program for this. And I would run by the teacher, and they was like, no, not him. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, you know. And so I had to explain to that child, I was like, you got to be good for everybody. You can't be good, just be good for me. You got to be good for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really a good point because, students often have their favorite teacher and, they have that relationship with that teacher, but they also need to remember, to be respectful of other teachers that they have, whether it's, a specialist teacher in an elementary building or one of their 7 teachers if they're a middle school or high schooler.
Right.
Um, so
And,
when,
and I
go ahead.
always go by that. I always go by that when it's time for performances and such.
Hmm.
And I wish
Hmm.
other educators would as well. When it's time for performances and such like that, they need to look at their behavior with other colleagues, not
Hmm.
just teachers, even the cafeteria ladies and the
Yeah.
cafeteria staff, I should say, not just ladies. Just to be politically correct, and even the maintenance and whoever comes in the building, that's just how I feel about things.
Yeah. But it's teaching kids about the real life, right? How to respect adults when they're out and about as well. So I introduced you talking about the names of some of your books. Let's focus on the school days and more school days books. And tell me a little bit about what the target audience is for those books. Are they more geared towards teachers, students? And what kind of stories would they be able to gain from those books?
Well, I would say that when it comes to students, it would go from early childhood to maybe the early years of college. And then as far as teachers, I think it will be a good teaching tool if you're not the type of person, if you're the type of person that wants to add a little flavor with poetry, especially around the month of Poetry Month, which is
Mhm.
April. And then not only that, it has different pieces in there about different holidays. So if
Mhm.
you have a program or something in the school, you could have one of your students read, or one of the one of the parents, or however you want it to be done. You can
Mhm.
use these as readings for your programs.
Okay, okay.
Not
You
even at
also
school, not just at school, but at churches too.
you also talked about that this can be used in teacher ed programs, that they're using it as a supplemental
Well,
text.
actually, this one,
Hmm.
I don't know. It's
It's
blurry.
not really
I'm
coming
gonna,
out in the video.
yeah, I'm gonna unblur it.
There we go.
This
Hmm.
one, school days, holidays, and all days that lie between. This one is my very first one in the series, and it actually was in the running, or a contender to be in a teacher ed program as a supplemental text for the in a university in Missouri. And two universities in the state of Missouri have this book in their collections. The University of Missouri at Columbia, and Missouri Southern State University.
Okay. Yeah, that must be an honor to actually have it as part of the teaching program. So, yeah, that's something I definitely think all educational authors would really, feel like their books made an impact when teacher candidates are reading that. So, you've authored, what was it, 9 books so far or more?
15.
15, yeah. So I counted wrong.
15.
So how in
Well,
the world do you
yeah.
find so much time to write? You have 2 kids as well, and you teach full time.
Well, I make time.
Yeah.
And really, I guess my dad raised me the old fashioned way. I didn't I kind of stepped away from that a little bit, when I got, to living in a bigger city. But when I would have to be at home at a certain time. And
Yeah.
being that I have kids now, and then I had to live in Mississippi for a while, and it was really, really dark, country, like rural. I kind of made a point to start coming home before 5 o'clock, before 5 o'clock. And unless it's an emergency. So that gives me time to prepare for the next school day, prepare my kids for the next school day, prepare myself, and then, a little bit more time to relax, unwind, and write a little bit. Um, Actuality, when I was in Mississippi, I didn't have any kids with me until maybe 2017. I stayed in
Okay.
Mississippi from 2012 to 2019, and I wrote a lot. But actuality, I wrote more when I was in Baton Rouge, and I had a kid with me, because I guess I was overly stimulated, and it was just a place that I felt like I could um, let free myself pretty much. So Baton Rouge is where I really started, being serious about publishing books. Then I got into a situation that I kind of got discouraged. I was still writing, but I wasn't really publishing that much. So
Hmm. Hmm.
kind of slowed down. Like when I was in Baton Rouge, I wrote 7 books in 1 year, and I was still
Wow.
working. And so when I got back to this area, my hometown area into Mississippi, I kind of slowed down a little bit and started doing, my educate more of my educational endeavors, but I was still writing as well. So
Hmm.
it's so when I was in Baton Rouge, I was writing like 12, 13, 14, maybe even 20 poems a day. You know,
Hmm.
I'm lucky to get about 60 in a day now. And
Hmm.
I'm really pushing it,
Hmm.
and then maybe like on a day that my kids really don't bother me, I'm putting in like 10 or 12 and then maybe like 3 or 4 paragraphs. So I try to make a point to write every day, even if it's
Hmm.
nothing but, journaling stuff.
Yeah. And are those self-published or have you gone through a publisher?
They're self-published.
Hmm. Do you use an editor then, somebody you know, or do you like contract
Well,
out
I
editing?
use I use an editor and I use myself. And then
Okay.
I use the software as well.
Hmm. So I talked a little bit in the bio about some of your degree programs. So you have your a specialist degree in educational leadership. You just started a doctorate program. So what are your ambitions in terms of admin leadership? You said you've been a department chair for special content, but that was during COVID, and that you also did your admin internship on COVID. So that must have been interesting.
Yeah, being that still before during COVID, it was different. And now that we're out of the situation, it's going to be much more different. And when I did leadership as a department chair, it was pre-COVID. So again, it's different. But, with the situation as far as being an administrator, I kind of do want to be would desire to be a principal, but more so, I would like to be an academic coach, with or academic specialist within certain subject areas per se. If I wanted to stay within the building, but I do desire. Whenever my kids are older and I get a chance to see the world more a little bit, to have my own, at least a tutoring service or a summer camp program that probably
Mm-hmm.
could grow into like a small school for kids that are underprivileged, that are extremely talented, but they have channeled their talents into the wrong way of channeling them, and me taking them out of that situation, be able to channel their energy or channel their talents into something positive.
Yeah, that's great ambitions to have for, summer camp slash tutoring. And I think, your background would very well lead to starting up a service like that. I also know that you stress the importance of STEM in arts and education. I know that they're not funding those subjects so much in a lot of schools. They're
No,
more the exploratory.
no, no, and that's where a lot of our statistical data goes into, because a lot of our
Yeah.
students that are in fine arts, they tend to have more cooperative skills than others, and they
Yeah.
tend to have higher math and science scores than others. And then with it, the STEM, things are changing so rapidly with technology. Um, and different phenomena are coming so quickly, rather quickly, that I feel that education needs to catch up. I mean, they are making good strides with it, but I think they really need to catch up a little bit more. with what's going on, or even bring in people from the STEM community that are working in the trenches, like people that are researchers, people that are, that make robots or make electric cars, so that kids can, get it hands on firsthand and know what they actually do and what really lies ahead. So, it's always um it's always you should always take the opportunity to do better in not just the STEM and the arts, but just in every subject. But those are really the ones that really stand out to me. And if you don't mind, it's kind of, I
Sure.
have a piece that goes along with fine arts education. It's called
Hmm.
"Don't Stop the Music."
Okay.
Uh, yeah, all I can say is, and I'm really enjoying this. My kiddo is not bothering me because he's asleep. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Don't Stop the Music from my newest book, Many More School Days, Holidays, and All Days in Life Between. Instruments are playing loudly. Vocalists are singing with animation and lively. The dancers are grooving rhythmically, whether it is a practice run, sound check, or a live performance. My love for music, among many other subjects that make it up, is vastly enormous. Music is math, and that the notes in the score creates a rhythmic path that is not a bore. Music is science, and that instruments and voices have a pitch with frequency and wavelength amplitude. Music is reading the lyrics that creates the song's mood. Music is history because of learning about what in the past culture that gives the music its structure. Learning music creates cooperative learning around the clock. Music education rocks all nations universally. The funding and learning should be never ending. Musical messages daily to us are sending. Let it soothe us and groove us into higher learning. Youth and adults, all together in all walks of life, have a musical yearning. It causes humans to have a creative form of discerning. Music helps us learn around the clock. Music education provides specification all across the curriculum. Let the metronome keep the tempo because we want the world to know that music education is the key for our global society to grow. Let's advocate for the metronome to rock around the clock. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. The music, please don't stop. Don't stop the music. Boogie all day and all night. For music in schools, let's fight. Just because it's 3 o'clock doesn't mean that we have to stop. Don't stop the music. It gives us skills to pay the bills. It gives us a rhythmic thrill. Music spins our wheels to academic achievement and much cooperation. Don't stop the music. Let's spread the word to many nations.
Well, I really enjoyed that. It was great having a tidbit from your latest book. And really, advocating for music education, right? Because there's people that work in all different kinds of fields, and their side gig might be playing music, right? And it, like you said, STEM, performing arts, visual arts, those kind of things can help you, do greater and think, you use a different part of your brain, right? So thank you so much for sharing that. We've had a good conversation today about your background, some of your books, and what your future goals are. Out of everything we talked about, what's one thing you'd like listeners to remember?
I would like listeners, even adults and kids, that no matter what field you choose to go into, you're always going to have a teacher. And also that I'm just going to share what my parents told me because they were my first teachers.
Mm-hmm.
That especially my dad, he was really rich in wisdom. Um, he's always told me, your attitude determines your altitude.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how far you go. It doesn't really, you can have bad, you can have okay academics, and have a good attitude, and
Mhm.
it'll take you far. And you can have awesome academics and have a messed up attitude, and you won't go that far because a lot of people don't want to deal with folks that don't have a positive attitude. And that's what I learned. And even he was like, he even told me, even when you come in with a positive attitude, some people may take that the wrong way, and you may still have trouble, but still keep on moving. And also, my mom always said to me, don't talk about your work. Um, don't brag on your work. Let your work speak for you.
Yeah, that's great to have like attitude determining your altitude, especially for kids as they leave high school and go on to post-secondary options. Well, where can people find you online? I saw you have a lot of, you're active on many social media accounts.
Yes, I am. I have LinkedIn where we found each other. I'm author Nicole S. Brown, EDS on LinkedIn, and I'm on Instagram. It's author Nicole S. Brown. On TikTok, the same. Author Nicole S. Brown. Tumblr is author Nicole S. Brown. Pinterest is author Nicole S. Brown, but I really don't use that for personal. I use that for my hobbies: cooking, cleaning, hairing, makeuping. Um, and I also have a fan page which is drastically, I mean, like exponentially growing in viewers, and I'm really proud of that. It's outstanding poet and author Nicole S. Brown, and then I have my own personal Facebook page is Nicole Sharon Brown. It's spelled as Sharon, but um, I believe that's all that I have as far as
Mhm.
social media.
And you also have a shop, an SD shop as well.
Yes, yes, I do. Yes. It has all of my books on it. It has different paraphernalia on there. It has um I ship all over the world. So whatever you want, I can ship it to you from me to anywhere in the world. It's Etsy.com/shop/poetry abyss. And if you can't remember that, just when you go to the Etsy, just type in poetry abyss and my business page will show up.
Okay, definitely. I'll add that to the show notes. Well, thank you so much for your interest in being on the Out of the Trenches podcast. It's always great to connect with educators like you and talk about your passions and, hear a little bit from your own writing. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And you have a wonderful evening. And I'm so glad that I was able to be on the show, especially with a fellow educator. That is so cool.